Greetings, Boogie fans! Michael here, and welcome to the newest installment of my Pokemon tier list series, where I make tier lists for various categories of Pokemon based purely on my own opinions of them. As Pokemon Sword and Shield have just come out and introduced a ton of new Pokemon, I thought it would be appropriate for me to make another set of tier lists about the new Pokemon. And yes, multiple tier lists because there's far too many new Pokemon to fit onto one image without them all just looking like little ants. I will not be covering any of the Gigantamax forms because there's still several of them that I haven't even seen, so that's kind of fun. Also, in case you missed any of my past tier list videos, this is the significance or meaning of each of the tiers. But enough intro stuff, let's dive into my first new Pokemon tier list. Inteleon is the worst of the fully evolved starters in my opinion. I don't despise it, but the super skinny limbs and the giant human hands really throw me off. Greedent is just kind of a fat guy squirrel. It's not ugly, but I certainly don't like it. Thievul is pretty cool, except for the tiny little mustache. I would like this Pokemon a lot more if it didn't have that. Eldegoss is fine, but I admit I'm disappointed by how weak it is. Choodle looks ridiculous. It's not ugly, but the size of its head compared to its body makes no sense whatsoever. Thwackey is a fine middle evolution, very logical evolution of Grookey. I also think Rillaboom is fine. I think it's a cool gorilla that is held back by its weird hair and heavy emphasis on drug usage. Oh. Wait. My voice typing software, I said drum usage, and it put drug usage. That is hilarious. It's heavy emphasis on drum usage, not drug usage. It would be an A tier if not for those flaws. I think Cinderace is fine. I actually didn't like it very much until using it in my playthrough, at which point it really grew on me. I think the entire Orbeetle line is fine. I think the bug psychic type is unique and interesting, and none of them look bad. They just don't really stand out to me. And finally for B tier, Gossifleur, it's a fine Pokemon. It's cute, but it's nothing special. Grookey and Scorbunny are both very cute starters that I think are well designed. Drizzile is a cool reptile, and I like its color scheme. Skwovet is very cute. Nickit is also cute, and I like its goofy tail. Dubwool is a very solid looking Pokemon. It's a soft, fluffy sheep while still looking imposing, and that's a great balance. And of course, Yamper is very cute. Raboot is awesome. I love the ninja/athlete kid aspect. It looks like the protagonist in a shonen anime, which I think is fun. Sobble is my favorite base form starter, so it saddens me that it ended up with the worst final evolution form. Rookidee is adorable, and as an added bonus, it's a pure flying type. Something I have thought they should have been doing for bird Pokemon for a very long time. I love it. Corvisquire is also great. It is a very good looking halfway point between Rookidee and Corviknight. And Corviknight is of course awesome. It's a super badass bird, and I love how huge and imposing it is. I loved using one on my team. Wooloo is an icon, and anyone who says otherwise is incorrect. Dreadnought is a really cool looking snapping turtle that was super fun to use. And lastly for this tier list is Boltund, which is simply just a really good looking dog Pokemon. Its proportions look right, it's got a great mix of being cute and looking strong, and its typing and color scheme are awesome. I didn't use one in my Sword playthrough because I used a different electric type, but in my next playthrough of the Galar region, I want to try and use a Boltund. The next tier list will be just the Galarian forms and new Galarian evolutions because, yes, Galarian forms are effectively new Pokemon. But before we do that, just want to let you guys know, if you're watching this video on the day it came out, today is the very last day to pick up a Coffee It's Super Effective shirt or hoodie. If you want it, it's going away forever at the end of the day, November 23rd. Get it. Shirt's below the video, link in the description. Get it ASAP. While I don't find Galarian Meowth to be that offensive or ugly of a Pokemon, I hate it for existing. Meowth had already gotten both an Alola form and a Gigantamax form. It did not need a Galarian form. Galarian Rapidash was somewhat of a disappointment for me. I got my hopes up that it would turn into this really awesome Pegasus, but instead it's just a normal unicorn with hair that seems a bit too clumpy to me. Like the strands of hair look more like tentacles than hair. I am glad that Galarian Meowth's evolution is not a Galarian Persian, but I still can't fully like Berserker because it evolves from a Galarian form that I don't think should exist. Plus, I feel like it's not different enough from Galarian Meowth. You could have told me that this was Galarian Meowth, and I would have believed you. Galarian Mr. Mime is an improvement upon regular Mr. Mime, but it is still a Mr. Mime, and therefore a weird, creepy person. I can never truly like it. Pretty much all of the B-tier Galarian forms or Galarian evolutions are here because I don't love their designs, but I like that they exist. I think they're solid and relatively creative. I don't have any complaints, even for Mr. Rhyme, which is substantially better than Mr. Mime. Galarian Ponyta is absolutely adorable. It is a very solid Pokemon. Zen Mode Galarian Darmanitan is the first ever Ice-Fire type, so I have to like it because of that. I just wish this typing wasn't trapped on an unviable form. I can never really love Stunfisk because it's Stunfisk, but I have to give props to Galarian Stunfisk for being so creative. Obstagoon is pretty cool, and it was the first Galarian evolution that was revealed. Because of that, I will always have fond memories of it, because that reveal got me super hyped. I love how pissed off Galarian Farfetch'd is just all the time. It's hilarious. Galarian Corsola and Cursula are brilliant Pokemon. Having them be ghost-type Pokemon inspired by dying coral, a reference to climate change, is absolutely brilliant. Sirfetch'd is the Farfetch'd evolution that the fandom has wanted for so long, so I of course am going to love it. Its smug attitude is also great. Runerigus is my favorite Galarian form or evolution. It looks so much cooler than Cofagrigus ever did, and having its face be the dragon face of the drawing is just so awesome. I love this Pokemon a lot. Now we move on to the next tier list, which like the first one will only be completely new species of Pokemon. I think Toxel is kinda cute, but it being a constantly pouty and whiny baby feels kind of annoying to me. I also don't like that it's pretty much completely useless until evolving. It was annoying to just have an entire slot of my party taken up by a Pokemon who really cannot battle. I would like Impidimp more if it didn't have just a single solitary nostril. That kinda creeps me out. I had a very annoying experience trying to catch a Morgrem with Prankster and a nature that did not lower attack, and I haven't quite forgiven it for that yet. Applin is a fine Pokemon. I feel like they could have made it cuter, but as of now, I think it's solid. Carkol and Coalossal are well-designed Pokemon that I like. They would be A tier if they kept Roly-Poly's glowing orange eye. They would be a lot more intimidating if that was the case. Arrokuda is a perfectly fine fish Pokemon. I have no strong feelings about it. I feel the same about Sinistea and Poltegeist. They are perfectly fine Pokemon that I have no complaints about, but they don't stick out to me. My feelings are again similar for Hatenna, Hatterene, and Hatterene. They seem fine. They just don't really stand out to me personally. I really like the design inspiration behind Flapple and Appletun. Having them be worms inside apples that are actually dragons, and then having them fuse with the apple in a certain way depending on whether the apple was tart or sweet, is a really creative design premise in my opinion. Silicobra and Sandaconda are very solid snake Pokemon. I know we have a lot of snake Pokemon, but I feel like these do a good job of making themselves stand out from the others. Also, Gigantamax Sandaconda has been very nice to me, so Sandaconda gets extra points because of that. Cramorant is a goofy, hilarious Pokemon that I can't help but like. Low-key form Toxtricity is a very solid Pokemon, but it's only an A tier because I prefer the amped up form. Sizzlipede is very cute. They did a great job designing this Pokemon. Grimmsnarl is a horrifying monster that I at first was kind of put off by, but after using it in my playthrough for a decent chunk of time, I grew to like it more. I must say that I like that it's a fairy type that isn't cute or pretty. This is a murderous monster fairy type, which is really unique, and I appreciate uniqueness in Pokemon. I think Roly-Poly is a really cute little wheel-around angry lump of coal that reminds me of the wheelie bike from Kirby Air Ride, which was my favorite vehicle in that game. Barraskewda is a really awesome water-type Pokemon, and I love how its tail rotates like a propeller. That's really cool, and I want to use one at some point. Toxtricity is flat out awesome. It's a cool spiky lizard that has the amazing poison-electric type combo that I've wanted for so long. This is a fantastic Pokemon that I really enjoyed using on my team. Centiskorch is an excellently designed Pokemon. I'm impressed that they made a centipede Pokemon that doesn't look excessively creepy. It simply looks cool, and I really like that. And lastly, for this tier list are Clobbopus and Grapploct, which are hands down far and away my favorite Pokemon of Generation 8. Clobbopus is incredibly adorable, and anyone who says otherwise is simply incorrect. Meanwhile, Grapploct is so awesomely badass. The color scheme of navy, blue, and lime green is fantastic, and the bright color around its eyes makes it look like a superhero mask. It's really strong, has an incredible shiny, and is simply a fantastic Pokemon. In this short amount of time, it has already entered my top 10 favorite Pokemon of all time. I freaking love this thing. And now for the final tier list of the brand new Pokemon. I don't strongly dislike Alcremie, but I must admit I don't really like how heavily inspired by food it is, to the point where it's basically sentient food. Ice-Q is basically just a penguin with an ice cube head, which isn't horrible, but I think it's a little too goofy. Zamazenta's Hero of Many Battle Forms doesn't look horrible, but the segments on its neck look kinda gross to me. Eternamax Eternatus is just a hand reaching out of a spiral, which is pretty lame. But I can't totally discount it because you only see it once for a big boss battle, so it's under different rule sets, I guess. Pincurchin is fine for me. I like that they made a sea urchin Pokemon that's not water type, but I don't really find Pincurchin cute or cool enough to find it more than just okay. Snom is actually a very similar Pokemon to Pincurchin, so my thoughts are about the same toward it. Indeedee is again a fine Pokemon. I don't dislike it, but it doesn't really stand out. Morpeko is a perfectly fine Pikachu clone. I think its design premise is interesting, but it's still just a regular old Pikachu clone that doesn't really stand out. Dracovish and Arctovish have a really creative design premise, but I end up liking them just a bit less than the other two fossils because they are seriously weird. Dracovish is a fish attached to a dragon's tail, and Arctovish has its face facing straight upward. They're wild and super creative, but they're so weird that I can never really like them. Both of Zacian's forms and Zamazenta's Crown Shield forms are fine legendaries. They're never gonna be my favorites, but I don't dislike them in any way. Frostmoth is a very pretty Pokemon. I like that they finally made a bug ice type, and I think they did a good job with it. Stonjourner is very cute, and I like it because of that. I like Dracozolt and Arctozolt for the same reasons that I just discussed. I think this generation's fossil premise is super creative. Duraludon is a very solid Pokemon, and I love that they finally made a Steel Dragon type that's not Dialga. Dreepy and Dracloak are cool looking Pokemon that I quite like. Eternatus is a pretty solid legendary Pokemon. It looks antagonistic and somewhat alien without looking too alien. They did a good job with this Pokemon. I know I said that Alcremie looked too food-like for me to really get into it, but Milcery doesn't have the same problem. It just looks like a really cute blob. It's great. I also like Phalanx a lot because it's really cute. The individual segments with the cute little eyes that you can't see from this static image but can see clearly in-game are absolutely adorable. I think it's so funny that a Pokemon based on war formations ended up being so freaking cute. Cufant and Copperajah are fantastically designed Pokemon. Cufant is really cute while Copperajah looks regal and imposing. I'm glad they finally gave us new elephant Pokemon for the first time since Generation 2, and they did a fantastic job with these Pokemon. And finally, Dragapult is an excellent Pokemon. I think they did a great job of having it be inspired by an inanimate object, those being stealth bombers, without making it look too much like a machine. It simply just looks really cool, plus I really enjoyed using one on my team in my playthrough. Sweeping through things with a crazy speedy dragon that won't be outsped is just so fun. So those are my tier lists for all the new Pokemon in Generation 8. You may have noticed that only one singular Pokemon was in the D tier in all of these tier lists. So clearly I think Generation 8 is a very solid generation of Pokemon. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're watching this video on the day it came out, don't forget 1, the Coffee It's Super Effective shirt, get that before it's gone, and secondly, I am doing my birthday stream over on Twitch, so if you want to come celebrate your boy turning 25, the link to my Twitch is in the description. Thanks so much to my patrons who are supporting me and the channel over on Patreon. The current developments with Kappa are kinda scary for people who make content about kid-friendly games, so to those of you who are helping support me in a way that's not YouTube ad revenue, you're helping give me some peace of mind, so thank you for that. If you want to help support me on Patreon and are not already, the link to my Patreon is in the description. Alright, that's all I have for now, so till next time, Pokefans, gotta catch them all!